Hello my fellow hermits, and welcome to another video. Today what we're going to cover is minimal no contact situation that you have. This could be with a romantic partner, this could be with a parent, whatever no contact situation that you're in. This reading covers the situation, both parties, what happened as the energy check. Then we're going to get into the current energy of that connection, as well as the future of what one person will do, what the other person will do, and then we'll get into advice on whether or not, if you want to stay, I'll tell you what to do if you want to stay, if you want to leave, how you can make that transition easier, and so on and so forth. Full disclosure, with minimal no contact readings, I'm not going to bullshit you. I'm not going to soften the blow of the meaning of the cards. So if you are not in the correct headspace to hear this information, if you are feeling rather emotional right now, I would save this for another day where you are feeling better about your circumstances, because I am never going to lie to you. I'm always going to tell you the true meaning of the cards and how I am interpreting them. If you would like to change your situation, I believe that you always can. So that's why I have two sets of advice here. And with the way that the reading is currently set up, you can either be person A, person B. You could also be a mixture of the two of them. Take whatever resonates, as always, since this is a general reading, but we will get into it. Hello, Pile 1, and welcome to your reading. If you have never been to my channel before, I just wanted to preface this reading by saying I am going to be delivering some honest truth, and although I try to deliver that in the kindest way possible, I'm not here to bullshit you. Just gonna be honest with you. So if you are not in the headspace of needing to hear this message, or wanting to hear this message, or discussing why things aren't working between you and this person, I would save this for a day where you are more healed. If you are okay with that, what we are going to do is we are going to look at what happened between you and this person, the shared energy, how both of you contributed to the situation, and if that resonates, we will then get into how they feel about the connection currently, where they see things headed, how they perceive you, what they would like to say to you, as well as some advice on either how to move away from the situation or how to get back in line with things. So the shared situation between you and this person is represented by the Nine of Cups and the Queen of Wands in reverse. Initially, this was a relationship that both of you wanted and almost felt like a dream come true, but now it doesn't seem like it's worth the effort to move forward with this connection, and it feels like there's too much sacrifice that needs to happen on one or both sides for this to continue. Both of you feel really drained and exhausted trying to achieve your goals, and you feel like to be in this connection would come at a price to you. I pulled some clarifying cards off camera about what that price would be. And for both of you, there is a worry of things not working out before you even begin, almost. Or there's a worry of losing the person that you wanted to be with. One person in this connection, which we'll get into, has devoted a lot of their time and attention to the other. And their price that they would have to pay is they would have to continue to give too much of themselves to the other person in order for this relationship to move forward. So they have decided to go cold turkey on this connection because they recognize that this connection is out of balance for them. And both of you feel like you would lose the other person for whatever reason and regret living in this dream come true and would rather make the decision to remain logical rather than follow what your heart wants in this connection. There's a lot of ego with the Queen of Wands in reverse. There's a craving for attention within this relationship, and there's a stubbornness of wanting to serve your own purposes. I feel like for one particular party, it's more apparent than the other. They want to feel glorified and uplifted. They feel insecure about being lesser than the other person, and because of that, this relationship is struggling to move forward. The Hanged Man shows me that this connection is in suspense right now. There's not a lot going on, or there hasn't been a lot to change the circumstances of this connection, and that might be why the Queen of Wands is still in reverse. The Queen of Wands craves action, she craves attention, she craves drama. So now that she's not fed those things, that might be why there's some volatility or some strong emotions involved for some of you. It seems like both of you want this connection to move forward, or one or both of you is struggling to really let things go, because the back of the deck energy is represented by the Five of Cups in reverse. There's this deep sense of you guys know what's best for you and you know what's good for you, yet there's a struggle, particularly on one person's side, to allow this to move away and allow this to end. The current energy and why this situation happened, round and round, both of you are stuck in old patterns, and this relationship seems to be something where you have seen this happen over and over and over again, and that might influence why there's so much ego involved. Both of you have this energy of wanting to protect yourselves almost, and feeling like this is going to end before it even lifts off the ground and begins. And the energy is that both of you want to play out your own agendas, and both of you don't want to move on from those unhealthy patterns, but there's almost a need to choose to let go of them if you decide to continue to pursue this relationship. You need to choose to be optimistic about this connection and choose to believe that this is going to work, rather than deciding to worry and doubt about it, is a lot of what I'm seeing here. We're gonna move this off to the side real quick. Person A. Person A is represented by the Lover card, and they are obsessed with person B. They have a lot of passion for person B. They have an idea of romance that is almost unrealistic, and they are so devoted to person B that it is destructive. This is either you or the person that you're asking about, essentially. So take what resonates. Their side of the story is there's a lot of water here, a lot of water signs referenced, and there's fire also within this pile, so those might be significant zodiac signs, but Cancer is significant here. Pisces looks like it's significant as the necklace and popped up several times throughout this reading, so those might just serve as confirmations, but you don't have to be either one of those signs to make this work. Person A, the lover person, they wanted a mature and passionate lover. They wanted someone that was emotionally stable and available, someone that they can count on when times got hard, and someone that isn't afraid to express their love, give advice, give support, nurture people around them, approve people around them. They wanted to move forward with person B, and they wanted person B to intentionally love them and devote themselves to person A. But person B, from what I read, is not willing to do that. They're not willing to intentionally love person A in the same way that person A loves person B. They wanted person B to come back into their life, so there might have been a period where you broke up, you stopped talking initially, and then got back in contact with each other. They don't want to leave person B, essentially, behind, even though continuing to love person B comes at cost to themselves. They wanted person B to try. They felt lonely during this relationship, and they didn't feel like they could fully connect to person B because, if I'm being honest, person B didn't fully trust them. So, from what I can tell by the cards, this feeling of loneliness and this desire continued to grow within them, and eventually they got frustrated with the connection and stopped showing up for person B. They stopped putting in the work. They stopped feeling passionate and motivated to continue this relationship because they were incredibly loyal to the idea of being with person B. Their cards include 2 animals, which I think is very significant, whereas person B's cards, which we'll show later, only had 1 and was talking about the self and the individual. So person A seems to have this mentality that they wanted to be a team. They wanted to move forward together. They wanted to be the perfect soulmate to person B, but person B was unwilling to contribute that to them. Over time, I don't feel as though person A felt that love was reciprocated with them. And for some of you, I think there might have been a little bit of infidelity or disloyalty involved with person A. They found what they were looking for in another person, and that person expanded their perspective. And when they returned back into this relationship with person B, they realized that person B wasn't giving them what they wanted, and that's why they stopped committing to person B. That is one situation. The other situation that I can see is they realized they were too loyal and devoted to person B and decided that that wasn't what they wanted for themselves. They wanted some level of reciprocity, but they struggle with moving on from person B because they don't think that it's going to be as good as what it previously was, and they're stuck in their old ways trying to make it work with person B. There's this level of not wanting to let person B go because they feel like person B fits the description of what they're looking for, and it's almost like person A is willing to be so self-destructive to make things work that they don't realize that maybe it's better to see other options, or maybe it's better to wait a little longer until person B moves out from these habits. I feel like person A, if I'm gonna give advice to person A immediately right off the bat, I think you need to work on your attachment style and discover what that looks like for you, because there's a lot of anxiously attached energy, and I'm not here to criticize that. I am on the other side of the spectrum of attachment, so I'm definitely not qualified to give the anxiously attached person advice, but you need to do what's best for yourself is what I'm gonna say. And you need to consider whether or not you're willing to continue to sacrifice yourself for this person, or whether you need to consider that maybe there's someone better out there that can actually meet your needs and that actually is your soulmate. Because I feel like person A is so devoted to this idea of being with person B and person B being their soulmate that they might be missing out on other opportunities and other people that might be more suitable for them. That's what I'm gonna say here. Oh, and then sorry, I forgot to mention this. Person A, their energy is also represented by the world in reverse. So they are not expanding their horizons. They are so limited to this idea that person B is their human, their soulmate, that they don't realize that they have other options available to them right now. They have made person B their world for so long that they don't realize there's other avenues to explore, there's other planets to explore, there's other people out there that could be more suitable for them. And that might be the negative habit that person A has, is becoming tunnel visioned on one specific person, devoting yourself to one specific person to the point where you burn yourself out trying to get someone to play the fairy tale rather than actually finding it within someone that's suitable for that. Person's B side of the story, they are the queen in reverse. They are controlling and demanding, whether that's of person A or whether that's of their current reality, and they don't like their authority being challenged. They wanted a fair situation for all parties involved, represented by justice. A lot of their cards are also black and white, so I think they might have this idea that the world is very black and white. They have this all or nothing mentality for sure. They make decisions based on logic rather than their emotions. That might be why the Lovers card showed up in reverse. Person A seems to have a better understanding of their feelings and their heart and their passions. Person B does not have that same mentality or that same focus. They are refusing, and this is part of the control element of their personality, they are refusing to invest more time into the relationship. They're stubborn about it, and they might not have trusted person A fully, which caused them to shut person A out. They weren't willing to take the risk of the relationship with person A. The reason they don't trust person A is because either someone in their past or person A, you'll know if you are person A based on your situation, was dishonest with the Seven of Swords in reverse. Person A was hiding something, and I think that hiding thing was that person A randomly went cold on person B without telling them, and person B reacted and felt as though it was better to leave the connection with the Ten of Swords here than continue to commit to it. It felt like it was over for person B. And we have this Four of Swords here to represent that random going cold and random going out of commission. I feel like this could be one of two situations. Person A might have gotten fed up with person B so much that they went cold and tested person B to see if person B would reach back out to them or would rekindle the connection, pull them back in. Or it could be that person B was so used to person A and depending on their love and affection that when person A went cold, they didn't really know how to take it. But either way, they thought that it was better to end the connection rather than continue to try to make things work. What happened with them? They received what they were looking for. They received what they wanted out of the relationship or out of life in general with the Ten of Cups here. They did not share that or want to collaborate almost with person A. They received what they wanted, and I feel like person A must have been really excited for person B and wanted to share that with them, but person B, with their trust issues, basically said, I don't want to collaborate with you. Like, I don't want to work with you on this. This is my thing completely. They're already satisfied with what they have in life. They don't prioritize love and relationships is what I get out of person B. And they don't want to cooperate with person A when it comes to sharing their dreams. Why that is, they have the deep knowing card and then they have the between world cards. This is something that they planted a long time ago. It's a seed that they knew was going to grow into something more significant, and they felt the need to transition out of their old cycle into a new one because it was no longer what they wanted. They stopped seeing a future with person A and wanted to devote their time and effort into whatever this project or whatever this goal was. I don't know if this is a person, if person B decided to move forward with someone else. That could be the case, but I get the sense this is more a project. You'd know based on your circumstances, because again, this is just the energy check. But person B lost appreciation for what was going on between them and person A, essentially. They have this lack mentality that I mentioned earlier, that person A doesn't have what they're looking for, and they kept focusing on what person A doesn't have rather than appreciating what person A does have. And that might have caused person A to feel like they weren't enough. That Queen of Wands energy in reverse. Feel like they needed more attention, more appreciation. Person A, I think, was triggered by person B continuing to shut them out and continuing to put them down. I feel person A felt really unsupported by person B. And if person B wanted to continue to pursue this, they need to work on not controlling people as much, not trying to demand a certain behavior from person A, and they also need to allow people to question them and to question their authority. But that is the situation that I have picked up on thus far. And if you resonate with that, then I'd say please feel free to stick around. If not, then I would either choose another pile or maybe look into another reading. But I'm going to clear the desk and then I shall see you in the next part. So the overall energy of the future for the both of you is represented by the Page of Pentacles. And as I was channeling and writing notes about your reading, I heard the song Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus by Taylor Swift, which, if you're unfamiliar with that song, that is about being stuck in a state of always wondering whether something was going to work out if you had been different or done something differently within your life, essentially. If you haven't heard it yet, I would give it a listen, but that is the overall energy that I get for this pile is, will I always wonder if something had happened differently, whether this would continue to work out. Both of you are wanting to make it work, wanting to commit to each other, wanting the other person, but you're not willing to put the effort into the relationship to make it work. You want the rewards of commitment rather than planting the seeds and toiling the soil, is that what it's called? Rather than taking care of your farm, essentially. Don't mean to call y'all out, but that's kind of the energy that I have here. You both want something from the other person, but neither one of you is going to put in the effort to make it work, if I'm going to be real with you. Person A. I feel for person A, honestly, because you are incredibly loyal to this person. You care about them very deeply, and I can tell that you see all the different facets of them that you wish that they could see about themselves. And honestly, to put my personal bias into this reading, I don't think that person B deserves you. Like, I genuinely don't. I'm not trying to be critical of person B because I feel like person B thinks that themselves, but truth be told, you deserve better. The Magician in reverse. What you want out of this connection currently is you don't really want to make the decision to be with person B. You want them to make that for you almost, or you want them to be able to make the decision themselves. Person B seems to have been in control of this relationship and been in control of what happens for so long that you might feel as though you've lost a sense of agency within the connection almost. And that might be contributing to why you feel so stuck, because you're so used to person B calling the shots and being that authority figure that you don't realize that you can do that for yourself. And that's why I feel for you, because no one deserves to have their personal power usurped. You think, if you are person A, that the situation is going to change, but you think that it's going to happen from person B side of things, with the Emperor here and with the Knight of Pentacles. It's almost like you want something to come down and save you or save the relationship, and you might feel as though there is this divine plan for this connection that's going to bring you guys back together. You think that person B might take the initiative, might think logically about it and decide to choose you, and your stance right now is, if I am patient enough and I wait enough, person B will eventually see my worth and want to commit to me. And you see person B in a very beautiful light through multiple different lenses, honestly. And it's, again, this is why I feel for you so deeply, because you don't really think about them in a negative way. Look, you have the Mother, you have the Warrior, you have the Virgin, you have the Saboteur. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but you get the point. You see all these different facets of them, whether it's the feminine aspects or the masculine aspects. You see them as someone that's very nurturing and patient and unconditionally loving, someone that is creative and wants to birth things to light. You see them as a virgin. You see them as someone that's very pure of heart and spirit. You see them as the warrior, someone who is very strong and skilled and disciplined and heroic almost, and will self-sacrifice to conquer their ego. And then you see them very empowered and see that they will make the changes to their lives that they need to. And that's honestly very beautiful. You have, I want to tell you how I feel. So you want to reach out to them, but I think you feel as though being patient with person B is really what's going to help them make a decision to choose you almost. Like, if I don't tell them how I feel, that might sabotage things, and that might almost prevent the decision or the outcome that I want, is the sense that I was getting as I was channeling you. And you also have, I wish I could, sorry, my voice is going out. You also have, I wish I could share my good news with you. And when I pulled this, I felt really sad for you, because you definitely miss person B. And I don't know if you miss the current version of them or the past version of them, but clearly you did everything that you could, is what I want to say, to make this work. And I fear that, and this might be your fear as well, if you continue to devote yourself to this, it's not going to be what you want it to be. Person B, I'm going to give them some harsh truth right now. But again, the situation is mutually destructive. It seems like both of you have your flaws that contributed to the end of this relationship. So, person B, if you are person B wants to become more stable, and they want to grow. They want to find the balance between spending time with the people around them and then spending time alone. They want to enjoy the luxuries that they have created for themselves, and this again reflects the independent energy that we felt towards the beginning of the reading, where person A has this idea of wanting to be together, wanting to work things out, wanting to be a well-oiled team, and person B is thinking about themselves and almost sacrificing their relationship for their own personal growth. Person B wants to continue to determine whether this is worth pursuing. They wonder whether or not this is going to pan out for them, and they almost linger in this decision-making period because they might fear that this is going to turn into something good, and they might fear what's going to happen if they eventually lose this connection with person A. They, again, are more logically minded, and that's what's motivating them to stay stuck in this energy. And this lack mentality that they have is not really doing them any favors, if I'm being honest, because it seems like person B wants person A, but how long do you think person A is going to wait before they decide to move on? There's this personal frustration within me. I don't know if person A feels this or if person B feels this, but person B, if they're listening to this and they resonate with this, you need to either give person A what they're looking for and what they want and stop leading them on, or you need to lay down the boundaries, lay down the communication with person A, and figure out where to go to from there. There's a sense of needing to tell person B or person A what's going on instead of shutting them out, because that's the biggest problem and why there's so much lingering energy of desire between the two of you, and a heartfelt conversation about the truth and what's actually on your guys' mind and what you guys actually want for this relationship is probably the best moving forward. Where person B feels this relationship is going to head is they don't think it's going to move forward with the Chariot in reverse and the Two of Swords here. They think that this is going to be a distraction for them. It's going to distract them from their goals. It's going to burn them out too quickly, or it's going to take them in the wrong direction. And they think the relationship is going to stay at a standstill of always wondering whether this is going to work out. They think in the silence, you both are going to figure out what is best for you. And with the Hierophant pulled as the clarifying card, they might devote themselves into their religious practice to figure out the answers that they need or the information that they need to move forward. They're not going to rock the boat. They're going to keep the peace. They're going to follow the status quo, which again is thinking more logically rather than emotionally. For some of you, I get the sense that you might be in a same-sex relationship, and with the Hierophant, sometimes that reminds me of people that don't feel like they can be Christian and part of the LGBTQ plus community at the same time. So they choose to hide their sexuality or hide their partner because there's no way of merging it for them. That's the sense that I get. And if you are part of that community and you're part of that experience with this person, I think that that is the case here, that they're going to choose their peace over something that they love. That's very sad to me because it's not living within their truth, and it's sad to me that we have a world that is built to shame people for their personal desires when people that are part of the queer community should not have to fear what their love will bring and should not have to be put in the middle of these decisions. If I'm gonna get on my high horse and rant about that, that's not fair, unfortunately, but that might be relevant to your situation. They don't see person A in the best light, if I'm gonna be honest. They think that person A is more concerned about money than themselves, and they think that person A puts security over their own empowerment. It's almost like person B is like projecting, though. I'm just gonna be real with you, because person A, the way that I'm reading for them, I don't see them in that way. Person B, they are doing this right now. They are choosing their security over their self-empowerment, and yet here they are saying that person A is doing this, and it's frustrating because it's just like person B respectfully, that's not what person A is doing. And if you are person B and you're watching this reading, I hope that this helps you change your mind. But person B is also not regretful of what happened. They said, I would do it all again. So person B is appreciative of the lessons that they learned through this relationship at the very least. And I just wish that they would talk to person A and tell them what is going on and what they think is going to happen, because I feel personally like person B needs to be the one to start that conversation and initiate that conversation. And I feel like they will, honestly. We'll get into that. What's actually going to happen, the unfortunate thing about person A is they are stuck in this connection still. They don't feel like they can move forward. They are continuing to remain in the patterns of the past. And if they do decide to move on from person B, I feel like person A is going to get into a relationship with someone like person B again and continue to be in this situation over and over and over again. They haven't looked at how beautiful the future can be, and I don't think that they fully recognize again that they have options outside of person B. Until they let person B go, I feel like they're gonna stay stuck in this state of waiting on person B to make that decision. And that's why if you are person B, I urge you to come forward to person A and tell them about your decision and your truth, because you cannot continue to put this person in this state of constantly waiting for a sign or a signal. Person B is not going to commit, is not going to continue to devote themselves to this relationship. If they do decide to commit, they're not going to be fully present because their passion and motivation for this relationship has died, and they don't feel like they're going to be fully appreciated by person A, which is so weird because person A does appreciate them. And that's why I'm very frustrated, because it's like person A sees you as this beautiful thing, and person B gives me the sense that they don't, maybe their lack mentality is applied to themselves, where they don't feel like they are enough for person A. And I think person B needs to really work on themselves in the meantime. And maybe they are, because they had those cards of doing more internal work. But person B feels like that is their truth. They feel like they don't trust person A. Yeah, the lack of trust is still there. Like they have this impatience of almost wanting person A to come forward and say their truth. And really what person B needs to do is say it themselves. They need to have a heartfelt conversation about the situation, and they need to speak their truth instead of expecting person A to pick up on that. Where this relationship is going to head for the two of you is one of two situations. Something new can brew from this still, but it hinges on having that conversation. Either new people are going to come into your lives and they are going to be that missing piece. With the King of Wands here, this new person that's coming in is going to understand your perspective more, bring some newfound fun into your guys' lives. You're going to connect with other people that are going to help you see the truth of the situation and feel still grateful for the fact that this happened, but also continue to move forward. Or what's going to happen is this connection is going to transform into something new and something more creative, and you guys will go from the Queen of Wands reversed to the King of Wands upright, which is more mature energy and more mature fun. But that comes from understanding each other's perspectives, feeling grateful for what has happened in the past rather than focusing on what you've lost, and wanting to fully connect with the other person. So that is the future of this connection, or the potential future for this connection. Now we are going to get into some advice. If you would like to stay in this connection and to reconnect, person B is going to have to first of all, surrender defensiveness was the message that came up. They need to communicate in a more empowered way. They need to stay centered. They need to hear person A out without feeling like it's a challenge to their authority and without becoming defensive of it. They need to be calm when the conversation arises. It sounds like person A is almost going to bring it up, which is interesting because I felt like person B should have been the one to do that. But I think person A certainly has a lot on their chest that they might have told person B. Person B needs to stop trying to control the situation, is definitely what I'm seeing with strength in reverse too. They aren't allowing things to naturally progress in this situation, and they are almost letting their low self-esteem get the best of them. They don't believe in themselves, and they really need to have the confidence to trust that person A doesn't have ulterior motives, and they just need to be more confident that things are going to work out, I think. And they also need to stop controlling the outcome of what this should look like with the strength card here. They need to be more giving with the Four of Pentacles, and there's something that they need to let go of. And I feel like that is the feelings of betrayal that they felt earlier. They need to understand that the worst has already happened from this connection, and they can move up and forward from that by ending the past and ending the previous patterns. They need to recognize that they also can't fix or repair the past. They need to accept that they can't resurrect it. The journey's over, and what's been done has been done. If they want to commit to this, they have to plant a new seed with the Ace of Pentacles. I don't know if this is necessarily a new seed with someone else or a new seed in the relationship, but I think they definitely need to invest and build and spend more time and energy and resources in committing to person A. They need to show that they are serious and that they are here for the long term. Person A had less advice if they wanted to stay in this connection. Surrender to silence, let go, and enter the stillness within. Surrender to silence gives me the impression that person A needs to heal their attachment first before they enter back into this relationship, and they need to almost detach a little more from the outcome of this relationship rather than being so hyper focused on what it's going to end up becoming. Surrender is definitely key here, which I feel like person A is already doing. If you're already doing this, you're doing amazing, sweetie. That's all I want to say here. But with the Five of Swords in reverse here, if you have done something in the past to make person B distrust you, I think that you need to accept that the damage has already been done, and it might be best to apologize for what you previously did out of your own ego. You might have your reasons for it, you might have your guilt, but I think that that would probably be a good conversation starter for person B to say, I went too far with this. I'm sorry. I apologize for deeply impacting your life in this. I know that things cannot be repaired, but I just wanted to apologize. Like, I feel like not having an expectation of where things are going to go is also very important here, because if you're coming to this person that doesn't trust you and you're wanting to speak to them for the sake of getting into a relationship, they might not take that apology well. So I'm hearing that message coming through as well. With the Four of Cups too, I think you need to realize that person B is open to hearing this for you. You might feel like they're not going to listen to you based on what they've previously done, and you have every right to feel like that, by the way. But reconsidering your anxiety and calming yourself down is going to be important here, and coming into this with no expectations is going to work, like coming into this conversation. There's also a need to revisit this decision to commit to this person, whether or not you feel like your needs are going to be met, whether or not this is your person. That's definitely coming through here as well, of are you sure that you would like to pursue this? Because it seems like you've had a lot of pain and heartache continuing to try to pursue this. Now I will get into advice on letting the connection go. Okay, so if you would like to end this completely, I'll start with person B. You need to commit to that ending. You need to purge this person from your life completely. You know, block their number. If you can, remove all the stuff that they've given you. There needs to be a complete death of this and a commitment to re-entering into this next phase of your life. There's definitely some advice here on stop trying to make things work, because with the Temperance card in reverse, sometimes you can see people's differences and try to find balance between them, try to make two things come together that you know aren't going to work, if that makes sense, like combining fire and ice type of deal. You need to trust your decision and not feel guilty about your own feelings, your own opinions, your own logic, and your own actions. And you also need to stop thinking that you can fix person A, and stop trying to hold them accountable for healing from their attachment, holding them accountable for what they did in the past. You just need to completely move on and make peace with the fact that it didn't work and it's not going to work. If you are person A and you would like to leave this connection behind, the advice was pretty straightforward. I think you have a very similar piece of advice here with the Five of Pentacles. Ask for help. I think it's important to maybe talk to a therapist, talk to family members, discuss with people what you're going through, how you're feeling. Abandonment kept coming up in my head as well with the anxious attachment. Getting help for that is definitely important, but I think healing your abandonment and issues and starting there is significant here. Also, maybe abandoning this person is what I'm seeing here. I know that sounds really harsh, but you can't keep giving yourself to someone to the point where it creates a lack in your life when they don't appreciate you and when they have made it clear that they aren't going to reciprocate that. With boundaries as well, surrenders to setting limits, that's especially important. Saying no, expressing your needs, and setting boundaries with this person, I think is definitely going to be helpful in shifting the relationship and allowing it to fall away and let it go. If you express your boundaries enough, person B will understand. Well, they might not, honestly, because person B, as I said, has authority issues and control issues, so they might not like that, but it doesn't matter what they like, because this is for you. You know, if it's not healthy for you to continue down this path, then it's not healthy for you, and you need to consider what's best for you, person A, because you're a beautiful person and you have a lot of love to give. And if person B doesn't want that, then someone else will, and someone else will actually appreciate it and love you and respect you for that. So I hope that was helpful, pile one. Please let me know if you like this new format and if you like this reading in general. comment, share, like, subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Hello, Pile 2, and welcome to your reading for today. So, I just wanted to preface this by giving you the same rundown as I gave Pile 1. This is a no bullshit channel. I am always going to tell you the truth, even if it is a little harsh, even if it is a little painful. I will try my best to deliver it in the kindest way possible, but if you are not ready to hear truthful messages about your situation or about this person specifically, I would save this for a day where you feel better about your situation and where you feel ready to hear the messages that I am about to deliver. If that sounds good to you, then we will get into the reading. As I said in the introduction, I'm going to talk about the situation before you went no contact with this person, before you separated with this person. It doesn't have to be romantic, it can be platonic. I'm going to talk about then what they would like to say, how they feel, where they see things headed, how they perceive you, and then the third segment is going into advice. I'm not shuffling on camera today. It takes forever to edit out, unfortunately, and I find that it's a lot easier for me to shuffle beforehand and write in my notes what's going on rather than having to figure it out as I'm doing that. So if you don't like that new format, let me know in the comments. I can change my approach. But without further ado, this is your reading. Trigger warning today, I'm going to let you know with the energy check that infidelity popped up a lot. So if you have not been involved in a situation with infidelity, there might be messages in here for you. It might refer to something else. I'll give an alternative meaning, but I feel like this pile specifically is meant for people that have gone through a recent situation involving cheating. I'm not here to judge, so if you are the cheater, you can continue to listen to this. I'm gonna give harsh truths on both sides of the equation, but what happened was there was a disaster that both of you avoided in your lives. I believe this has something to do with finances. That seems to get brought up a lot within this reading. The shocking situation had something to do with a loss of money and a sense of abandonment from that loss of stability. The rug had been pulled out under both of your feet seemingly overnight, and it caused the spark between the two of you to also fade just as quickly. What was once attractive about this relationship died, and there were false promises on either side that neither one of you could deliver, from what it seems. I'm going to go into the back of the deck energy first because it summarizes things very well. This connection had a lot of potential for commitment with the Devil card. Both of you had a soul contract that I don't think either one of you could fulfill, and this soul contract had to do with committing to each other. And there's also this sense of addiction that comes with the Devil card that I believe applies to this pile as well. I don't want to go into the full depths of the addiction because I'm not here to really discuss that. You'll know if this is your pile what this is referring to. Why this happened. You have the Yang card clarified by the Moon card and the Nine of Swords. There's a lot of fear in this connection, particularly with person B, which we'll get into, but that caused both of you to enter into your masculine Yang energy, and I get the sense that both of you had different approaches to navigating this disaster together, and that caused you two to butt heads. You both went into hyperdrive and decided to immediately act upon the situation rather than come together and discuss things. And there was a lot of fear motivating this desire to act. Something didn't quite feel right in this connection with the moon card. With the moon card, there's a level of trying to figure out what that truth is, regardless of the fear in the conclusion. And I think both of you had ideas of who the other person was entering into this relationship that just wasn't true. And now you are starting to see what has been going on under the surface and what lies you two have told each other. There's been lies on both ends from what I can tell from the piles, and both of those lies have led to this Nine of Swords energy that feels paralyzing, that affects your mental health, that creates this mistrust between the two of you. I get the sense that one of you or both of you were up checking on the other person. I just see this image in my head suddenly of someone laying in bed and looking through their phone and constantly checking the other person's location and taking note of where that other person is and what that other person is doing. And they're up late at night dwelling on it and feeling fearful of it. That's the shared situation. This catastrophe that happened, this shock that happened between the two of you, caused both of you to go into hyperdrive. And I think there was a level of dishonesty here that both of you contributed to. Oh, and then the shared energy here is represented by, was it in reverse? I don't think it was in reverse. I think it was upright. It's represented by journey. Someone is moving away, whether that's physically or emotionally. It seems like it might be physical, and that's about all with the shared energy. And I believe that someone is person A, but I could see person B being the case for this as well. Person A is represented by the thief. They stole something from person B. I don't know if this is a physical item. I don't know if this is time or action or attention from them. Pulled the Eight of Wands as a clarifier to what exactly they stole. They lacked excitement within their life. They lacked adventure, a new beginning of some sort. And they decided to take that from person B. This talks about money as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if money was involved here, if they decided to steal that quickly as well. But there's this sense of person B being upset with person 1 because person 1 took something that they can't get back. And they took it really quickly and sneakily. They wanted to keep the peace with this connection, with the Two of Swords. They didn't want to see the truth. They didn't want to move forward from this relationship. They wanted to figure out what was best for the both of you, but they felt overwhelmed and didn't fully know what exactly that was. They wanted clarity, truth, and an awareness of how their decision would impact other people, and they wanted to make a logical decision about moving forward. They also wanted clarity of mind, likely from the fear that they were experiencing, and they also wanted the truth of the situation, which is what they found out about with the Seven of Swords in reverse. They learned who was working against them and why that person was doing that in the first place. And I think what ended up happening was they found out they were getting cheated on for a lot of you, and that might be why they decided to steal, or why they decided to immediately leave the situation, because they are a loyal person and didn't feel like it was fair for them to stay in a relationship where they weren't willing to go to that level, but the other person was. With Loyal Heart, I get the sense that a friend or family member likely told them about the situation. Someone close to them gave them the truth in some way, or this could refer to the infidelity in general, because a lot of this talks about infidelity over and over and over again. And their current energy is that they are parting ways. They are ready. They are done caring. They are done connecting to person B. When I was pulling, I was like, yeah, it's over. We'll get into it, I guess, when we get into that part of the reading, but they are checked out. They're ready to leave. They probably already have with the moving card, and they just want to put all of this behind them. They're working on healing from what I could see as well, and starting those initial steps of healing. So this feels fresh, and this feels like a relationship that was very quick and in the initial stages. A lot of the numbers on the cards were single digits and at the beginning of the cycle. Person B is the Lover in reverse. They had a bit of an obsessive attachment to person A, or perhaps an obsessive attachment to the person that they cheated with. They had self-destructive devotion towards the thief, but they likely didn't show that level of devotion to them based on the cards that I pulled. They are likely a fire sign, or they could be an air sign. Gemini specifically popped up within this reading a lot for them. They wanted to create drama. I think they're the type of person that craves it in order to feel stable in their life. They wanted attention. They wanted to feel supported and uplifted, even if they didn't deserve it. And they wanted to serve their own purposes. They felt inferior to person A, and that might be why they decided to cheat, because someone was giving them what they wanted that the thief couldn't give to them or wasn't willing to give to them. They wanted to settle down with person A, from what I understand, even if it caused issues or experienced delays. But there's also the sense of they thought this relationship was going to provide them with more joy, and that wasn't really the case. They were cold towards person A. They emotionally detached from the relationship in general and made a decision that was purely logical. They focused more on their projects and their work than they did on the partnership in general. Someone exciting, likely someone from their past, a fire sign, entered into their lives and restored the enthusiasm, energy, and adventure within them. This person is likely someone that's extroverted, more of a risk taker, but the Knight of Wands is a shallow lover, so they don't necessarily stick around for the long term, and if they do, they're not the most stable choice. And the Queen of Swords made a decision that is incongruent with who they are. The Queen of Swords doesn't usually act upon their emotions, but in this case they did, and they chose their heart's truest desires rather than deciding to throw it all away for logic. And I believe their truest desire was being with someone that is just as chaotic as they are. They did this because they loathe themselves at the end of the day. They have fear of intimacy, and that prevented them from being fully present within the relationship. They entered into this contract for love, but it resulted in pain for them, and that was hard for them to tackle. I'm not making excuses for them. I'm just trying to relay information from the cards. They have incredibly low self-esteem, as highlighted by the Queen of Wands here, and that's why they sometimes cause chaos, because there's a part of them that likes the attention that they receive from that, and there's a part of them that acts upon fear rather than the logic in their head that tells them not to do something, unfortunately. Their current energy is, they feel regretful for what they did. If I'm being honest with you, they are trying to move forward but can't because they're attached to the past. I don't know if they're attached to this person they cheated with. I don't know if they're attached to person A, but they have a problem. They might have an addiction. They might have emotional patterns that put them in the same cycle over and over and over again, or they crave old relationships. And there's the sense that the future is going to hurry up and fix them in this reading, especially with the Four of Wands in reverse. But that causes problems because they're making decisions based, again, on fear rather than on what's truthful to them and rather than what is stable for them. So that is the current situation. If you don't resonate with that, I would try another pile or I would try another reader. But if you do, welcome. I'm going to get now into the future of the connection, as well as how this person, how these people currently feel. Person A. Person A is angry about the situation, even if they don't show it, and they are struggling with the healing part of their journey right now. They truthfully want to dominate the situation. They want their ego to spiral out of control, and they want to do what makes them feel good regardless of who it hurts in the process, because they thought person B was their soulmate. When you lose someone that you believe to be your soulmate, obviously it hurts a lot, and I personally wouldn't know how to behave in that situation, so I don't blame them for wanting to take control of the situation and wanting to continue this connection, if I'm being honest. But they are currently not going to put any action into it. With the Wheel of Fortune here, they're letting this relationship take its course. They think, with the Ace of Cups, that eventually a new beginning will happen for both of you when you're more open to it, and they think that divine timing will tell whether or not you guys will get back together, essentially. They also acknowledge that it's time to go. However, with the Wheel of Fortune, they think that there might be something better for them, or they want to kind of move on to someone that's new, and they feel like there's nothing else for them to learn or experience at this moment with person B. What they want to say is, I don't know why this happened. I think this is touching on their spiraling side of feeling upset, feeling like this might have been a fluke, not understanding why they thought person B was their person just for person B to walk away from them. But they still see person B in a good light with the child wounded. They see person B as someone that's compassionate and that not only awakens the desire in others, but also serves them and is on their own path of learning to forgive, whether that's to themselves or whether that's to the thief. Person A pretty much hasn't changed from the past from what I see, but they also have this renewed sense of hope that you guys might get back together and have a new beginning with each other. And only time will tell where this connection heads for the thief, in their opinion. Person B, they want the opposite of what person A wants. Wands. They have the King of Wands upright, whereas person A had the King of Wands in reverse. They want to get healthier. They want to have a good time. They want to connect with other people and learn more about them. They want to have adventures that they can talk about when they're older. They want to be known for their optimism and their ability to breathe life into people, and they want to feel challenged with their lives. The reason that they want to feel this way is because they are being given the opportunity to explore that with exchanging gifts. They have what it takes to succeed, and they don't want to live in fear for the rest of their lives. They don't want to live on the sidelines. They want to move forward with intention. But that means that they need to commit solely to what they're trying to do, and they might not have felt like they could fully do that within this relationship with person A. They think that the truth about them will rise to the surface. I think maybe they hope that person A will see who they truly are underneath the fear, or they hope that their truth, what they've been trying to speak but hide behind ego-wise, will reach people eventually. They're actually moving into a healthier place. What they're going to do about this connection is represented by the Six of Swords and the Two of Swords. They're going to weigh their options and think more about what it is that they want for themselves. They're going to guard their heart and not make any hasty decisions during this time. So it's unlikely they're going to reach out to person A, and they're going to move away from the drama to a place of security and peace and leave these negative behaviors that they have in the past. And the reason they're deciding to do that is they know they can't have what they want out of this relationship, even if it's what they desire, and they know that it's not best for them, at least at this time. They acknowledge this, but then the timing just isn't right for us. And in spite of that, they also see the thief in a more positive light as well. They see multiple different facets of the thief. They see them as the hero-heroine. They see someone who's very passionate and on a journey of personal empowerment. They see how the thief transforms their motivations and their goals into wisdom, and they see the thief as someone who is able to take pride in their work without having to put on a mask, or without having to be that Queen of Swords energy where they're serious all the time. And they live in their truth. They're not superficial, and that might be why the lover feels very inspired by them, but knows right now that they can't devote themselves to this connection. The direction of this connection is represented by the Five of Pentacles and clarified by the card of a leg up. And this pretty much reiterates what I've said thus far, but this connection is going to be left in the dark for a little bit because it needs assistance. It needs other people to help. And there's a sense of both of you feeling lonely within this relationship, both of you feeling abandoned within this relationship. And you can't go at it alone with this relationship anymore. You almost need other people to work with you, because you both were taking completely different actions when it came to this relationship, and you both were going at it by yourselves. And there's a recognition within both of you that you can't do that. You need other people to help and support you. And for both of you, I think you knew that it wasn't going to be with person B or person A. So it seems like the more heavy advice is going to be about how to let this connection go, but we'll look into advice also for those of you who would like to continue this connection on how to heal from it. Person A, if they want to continue this connection, they need to stop trying to make it work. They need to stop trying to blend two completely different people together into one, and they need to compromise. It seems like there's not a lot of balance going on between the two of you right now, and that might be the problem. So being in this connection might require sacrifice in terms of figuring out what works best for two of you and how to get your lives to work together. And if that's what you want, that's great. But with person A, there's a lot that they have to surrender here. Surrender to the beauty of the natural world. I definitely think that regardless of whether or not you want this to work or whether or not you want to leave this connection behind, taking a break from it is going to help you feel replenished and think on things. Right now, the energy between the two of you is a little volatile from what I'm channeling. It doesn't have to be. I feel a little bit of calm as well. It's not volatile to the point where I just feel angry channeling it or afraid channeling it, but there's a need for a break. I feel tired just channeling for you guys. Surrender frustration, definitely. That might be what the break is for. Of if you come back into this relationship and you're holding resentment still, it's not gonna work. And that's a problem with couples that have gone through infidelity specifically. If you continue to hold resentment for your partner, which is understandable, for doing what they did, you're gonna constantly feel that way towards them, and it's not gonna open room up for love from them. I know it works with people who have been through situations with infidelity, but all I'm gonna say is I personally wouldn't stay in a situation like that. I commend you if you're able to do that, because that takes a lot of resilience in order to get through. Surrender stubbornness. This relates to temperance in reverse, where it seems like both of you just want to do two completely different things, and that's why it's not working, because you're trying to get both of your lives to combine together and work together, when again you're going in completely opposite directions. So you might have to surrender your stance on things and become more yielding to person B and what they want, and that will help you communicate more loving with them. There's also surrender your fear of change. If you decide to be with them, you might be going through a lot of experiences where you have to change, where you might not be fully settled. You might have to get up and move again. And to be with person B, you are going to have to surrender that part of you that fears movement in that way. You also have surrender procrastination. There's an element of person B feeling as though they are inferior and feeling like they are unsupported, and that might come from your lack of confidence and your lack of taking action in things, and that's why you might be, as person A, attracted to person B. So if you want to feel more confident in yourself, now is the time to pursue that goal. This could also be referring to the fact that you might just need a break from thinking about person B overall, and maybe now is a good time to distract yourself with a project that you've been working on for a while that you had to put off due to your relationship. That might be also the case here. For person B, if they want to stay in this connection with person A, there's a lot of sacrifice that has to happen, and Spirit is urging you to consider whether or not you want to go down that route. The Five of Swords talks about winning at a cost and wanting to achieve success, but losing so much by making that their main focus, essentially. You are going to have to hurt person A's feelings, and you are also going to have to learn how to not get in your own way and how to not sabotage yourself based on fear. You're gonna have to learn to be more humble. You're going to have to become comfortable with embarrassing yourself around people, and you're gonna have to surrender self-destructive characteristics of yourself. You're gonna have to surrender the need and desire to win and to prove your point to someone. Surrender stress is also significant here. Take a few deep breaths and exhale the tension you've built up in your body. Let the stress go as you come back to your center. As I said with person A, there's definitely a need for you to take a break from this situation and to heal and calm yourself down from all the stress that you're under, because it seems to have accumulated a lot. Not as much as advice as person A, which is a little bit shocking, but we'll get into what it now takes to let this connection go. Person A, to let this connection go, the advice is Princess of Wands, Three of Discs, surrender your ego, and surrender low self-esteem. With the Princess of Wands, there's almost a need to regress back to the beginning. Regaining your passion, reconnecting with your ambition, and partaking in activities that make you feel bold and courageous and assertive is going to get you back in touch with yourself and is going to reignite the spark that you lost in the process of this connection. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty, and don't be afraid to start new adventures, and don't be afraid to just say yes to things that you wouldn't normally say yes to in life. The Three of Discs, I think that it is important for you to go at it alone right now and to not invest too much into something that you know you can't invest into right now. That might be relationship related, where don't jump into another thing just because you're feeling lonely and just because you feel the need to be in a relationship, because Spirit is telling me right now you're not going to be able to put in the work that you need to, and that's going to disappoint the person that you're trying to be with. You might also find that you're in a situation where you will have to carry the weight of the workload alone, and someone that you are depending on right now to collaborate with, whether that's in a business or at work, is not going to end up pulling through for you. So that might be a different situation with getting into a relationship immediately. You might find that that person is going to disappoint you because they don't live up to the standard that person B set. Or you might still be so upset with person B that it's hard for you to fully invest within this new relationship. There's a need to be appreciative of other people and being of service to other people, and being humble as you try to further your goals. You seem to have a flip-flop between ego and self-esteem, and I think your self-esteem drives this, where you deserve success and love and abundance. You deserve to not feel as you do. But I think it's important to balance between feeling low about yourself, feeling like you can't accomplish something, which might contribute to the procrastination that we saw earlier, and also not getting too hot-headed and not forgetting to be appreciative of what you have and be of service to other people. For person B, your advice is represented by the Queen of Cups in reverse, and surrender outdated beliefs in yourself. There's a need to be less gracious towards people around you. I think you tend to give a lot of yourself to people sometimes, and even though you come across as cold and calculating as the Queen of Swords, you have a big heart and you want to give it to people, you want to help people, but this is saying to stop giving people your time and energy when they're just trying to use you and they're trying to manipulate you to get what they want. There's also a need to be more independent and to make decisions for yourself, to regain your self-confidence and to become stronger. You might have attachment issues, especially with the Lover in reverse coming up earlier, whether that's anxious attachment or avoidant attachment, and that might be why you were in this situation in the first place. So there might be a need to heal that part of you that feels the need to cling to person A, especially with the devil there. Also, outdated beliefs might be significant with that low self-esteem. You definitely are really hard on yourself and have a lot of shame that you just need to release. It's time to own your power, and it's time to move into this new exciting chapter with all the opportunities that you have as a brand new person. So I hope that that helps pile 2, whichever side that you're on. If you liked this reading, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps me out a lot. But in the meantime, I hope to see you in another one. Bye! Hello, pile 3, and welcome to your reading. As I said with the first few piles, I am not here to bullshit you. I'm going to be very honest throughout these readings. So far, I've been honest to both parties involved about the situation. So if you're not ready to hear those messages, I'd recommend that you save this for another day if you feel drawn to it, or just wait until you're ready to hear the messages. The other part of this reading is we are going to be looking at what happened previously as the energy check, and then we are going to go into... Sorry, I'm feeling fatigued all of a sudden. We're then going to go into what the current energy is, get into advice on if you want to fix things, how you can do that, if you want to let this go, how you can do that. Oh, I also shuffled off camera because I'm tired of editing shuffling. So if you like the shuffling and you prefer that to be included within the videos, let me know in the comments. But for this video specifically, we are just going to get into the bulk of the reading. The general situation that is happening between the two of you is best represented by the back of the deck energy of the Two of Wands in reverse. And this card, let me make sure that this is actually centered. There we go. This card talks about once seeing potential in a situation, but nothing has come of it now. Someone might have been too scared to take the first or the next step within this connection, and both parties felt that it was more difficult than they expected to get things to work. So it's easier to give up on this relationship now than it is to continue with things. The shared situation that happened between the both of you is represented by the Ace of Spheres, or the Ace of Pentacles, and the King of Cups, both in reverse. Both of you had a change of heart, and both of you pulled out of the situation. There's again that message of not wanting to invest or commit to this new beginning or this new situation. Someone's fidelity might have come into question here, but that didn't pop up a lot. That might just be further confirmation for some of you. And some of your values might have changed to the point where it just didn't make sense to continue to be with this person to whatever capacity. Both of you might have been dishonest about who you were in the beginning of the relationship and projected what you wanted to be rather than who you actually were. And this relationship might have also been built under a faulty foundation of wanting to escape reality with the other person rather than facing it. For instance, if this is a romantic connection, maybe it started off more sexual, developed into something more friendly from there. Maybe you connected through an addiction of some kind. But why things fell apart between the two of you is represented by higher power. This is the only reading where I've said that fate stepped in to make sure that this didn't happen. That might be solace for some of you if you've been wondering why things fell apart the way that they did. Essentially, it was for your highest good that this didn't work out and that the no contact situation happened. And the current energy, which is the most interesting part of this reading, is represented by contract. I think you guys still have to be in contact with that other person because something is legally binding you to them, whether that's a marriage, a job contract, a lawsuit. It could also be a soul bond that is preventing this separation. But I feel as though you both are still having to be in contact with each other because you signed something or agreed to something that neither one of you can back out of. Backing out of it means that you might face heavy consequences for doing so. This contract, to give more detail about it, is something major. It's something that has damaged both of your lives. It's not something taken lightly. It's something that's involved some level of gossip or vengeance or arguments. And this contract happened because one or both of you was carrying a heavy burden and wasn't willing to give up on the connection. Maybe this connection was helpful in redistributing a balance of labor of some kind. I feel someone in this connection wanted to demonstrate their commitment by having this contract come forward, but it seems person B and person A, we'll get more into who they are later into the reading, had their different roles within this contract. Person A they didn't want this in the first place. That's the vibe that I'm getting from them. They decided to quote unquote sign the contract, whatever your situation is, because they wanted to keep the peace and they were too busy to consider their other options. They didn't have the time to make the decision and they wanted more time to. And there's also an element of hiding the truth from the other person because they fear person B. Person A wants to leave the situation because they are going through excruciating heartbreak, but the contract is binding them to that other person and is preventing them from leaving. And as a result, they might be more heartbroken than they would have had they left the situation earlier. Person B, and these cards are huge, so I apologize. Their role in the contract is that they thought that this was a good idea in the beginning, but now they're no longer passionate about it and have lost interest in that contract. Person A might have given them false promises to keep person B's hopes high, but when it came down to it, person A did not deliver to person B because person A didn't want this in the first place. Person B, with peace and love, is a bit dominating and is not considerate of person A's feelings in this situation, and they might have either gotten so excited or been so passionate about this that they bullied person A into the contract using fear tactics or emotional manipulation. Now we're talking about it, we'll move these cards to get more room. We're gonna go into person A. Person A has a lot of facets about themselves. That's disgusting. I just spit all over the table. They are more likely than not introverted. They also have a dedication to the physical aspects of life. They might be an athlete of some kind, or they might just enjoy physical activity, whether that's going for runs, hiking, going to the gym, dedicated to sports perhaps. They are releasing negative thought patterns and freeing themselves from outmoded beliefs about themselves. Currently, they're seeking solitude to focus on their inner life, and they want to follow their own personal creativity. Some of you might be a child with a mother in this situation, or you might just be younger than the other person, but they believe that anything is possible, and that might be a belief that they're trying to feed into currently, and they see the beauty in life. They're in touch with their inner child. They wanted out of this relationship to, well, honestly, I think they wanted to leave this relationship for a while. I don't think they wanted things to progress as they did in this connection. They saw the potential, but they knew it wasn't going to work out, or they knew that it was going to require a lot of effort from person B to see things from their perspective. Part of them wanted to give up on this connection in the beginning, especially with the Fool in reverse, because they didn't have the confidence that they could make this happen, that they could take the leap of faith with person B. They might be a bit reckless. They're definitely not confident within themselves. And in terms of the contract, they didn't feel like they had all the necessary facts or all the necessary research that they needed to make this decision work for them. How they contributed to the no contact is represented by the Empress, the High Priestess, the Nine of Wands in reverse, and the Nine of Swords in reverse. Automatically, this person is very feminine in this relationship because they have two very powerful female cards of the Empress and the High Priestess. They started taking care of themselves, slowing down in life, glowing up, starting to receive and enjoy the benefits of receiving. And there might have also been some sort of pregnancy involved with person A. Person A knew this was going to happen before it even did. They took control of the situation to serve their highest interests, and they might have found their higher purpose. That might have stressed person B out a lot, and person B might have taken that personally because person A was doing things for themselves rather than other people. Person A felt that there was something off about person B, and they tried everything to prove themselves to person B. They exhausted themselves trying to win this battle with person B, and eventually realized that they were never going to be enough for person B. Person B did something to show that they were no longer capable of staying within person A's life. So person A realized that continuing down this road was a lost cause, and that might have been why they started pouring more into themselves than they were into person B. Person B, in fact, stressed them out so much that the anxiety threatened person A's health, whether that's physical or mental, and person B caused person A's worst fears to manifest right in front of them. If you are person A, you know the reasons for it. Spirit was not willing to reveal that information to me, but this is a decision that you decided to make because you knew that engaging with person B was just not right for you, and this wasn't a light decision for you to go no contact with them. This is something that you've been considering for quite some time. Right now, person A is resigned to their fate. Things haven't happened as quickly as they would have liked to, and I feel like that's due to the contract, but they're deciding to focus on other victories in their life than on what's happening with the situation currently. So they might have fully shut down or shut person B out and are tending to themselves to figure out what's going on with them and what they personally want. Person B is equally as feminine. So some of you might be in a mother-daughter relationship that's struggling right now. They express their soul insights in symbolic language. They might be a poet of some sort. They might just have creative hobbies, creative endeavors, a creative career. They are very nurturing and patient, unconditionally loving, and they have an interest in giving birth to light. That comes up a lot within their reading, whether that's the birth of new ideas or whether that might be children in general. Person B had a feeling this wasn't going to work as well, but they wanted to try, even though they knew that it wasn't the best idea to move forward with this. They kept committing to the task at hand in a practical and sensible way, and they wanted to see things through to the end. Earth energy can be stubborn, and they wanted to continue to fight, whereas person A gives me the impression that they wanted to give up. The reason they kept fighting is because they thought that this was the road to peace for them. They thought that this was how things should have been, and they approached things from a more logical perspective rather than an emotional one. Things might have sounded better on paper for them than they did in reality. Right now, they are also focused on their creative projects. With Mother, they might have been pregnant, or person A might have been pregnant, but the Sun talks about the birth of a baby, so that might have just happened within this connection. Maybe that is the binding contract, is having a human being. And for those of you who are married but might have decided to break things off, maybe it's better to kind of stay together right now, especially with the economy, than to leave the situation, but you don't have to be married. Again, maybe this is a mother and daughter signing a lease because the daughter's pregnant and the mother has more of a financial capacity to take care of things, but a baby is somehow involved in a lot of your guys' situations. They are more focused on their creative endeavors as well. They might have the intentions of trying to start anew with person A, and they are also increasing their wealth and enjoying the fruits of their labor. Something unexpected might have happened with their finances as well. Maybe someone has recently passed and they've been given a large sum of money, but that's confirmation for person A and what's happening for them right now. If that sounds like your situation right now, feel free to stick around. If not, please try another pile. But we are now going to get into the future of this connection as well as the present of this connection. Welcome back, pile 3. We're going to start with person A. It makes the most sense given the narrative and the story of where things are going to head. Right now, they want person B to be the one to make the decision. They don't trust themselves to do that currently. They are someone that is very patient with those around them, and I think eventually they're going to have enough time to settle down, do their research, consider what they want. They think that this is a normal part of a relationship, that people get out of sync with each other but eventually get back to where things were, and they think that this is going to be a temporary setback. Their values might change to desire something more certain rather than something more reckless. They think that person B is going to reach back out to them, and that person B is not going to let this go. They think that with enough effort, something good could come out of this situation, and it's going to turn into something stable. And they believe that person B is going to be the one to initiate this. What they're going to do about this connection is they're going to temporarily pull their energy back, from what I understand from these cards. They're not going to continue to do what they've been doing. They're going to let things fall out of sync because they recognize that they can't do this anymore, and they might bail on the connection. The work that they put into the relationship might be disappointing at best, and person B, I think, is going to have to pick up the slack for them, which is kind of unfortunate. I get the feeling that some of you might be in a situation with, a man-child, and this man-child has expected you to take care of everything for them, and they have not been putting in the work, and maybe they promised to change, but they're just not. So now they're kind of in that slacking period of not contributing anything to the relationship and thinking that person B is going to be okay with this. They are doing this because they're trying to consider the pros and cons of partnership, and they've seen person B for who they are and are taking things at face value for right now. This is how person B sees person A. So person B still sees person A in a more positive light. They see them as being more intuitive, having the desire to seek out the truth, and they see person A as more childlike and good with animals, also in touch with their spiritual nature. What person A wants to say to person B is, I hope that you can forgive me one day. So person A definitely feels guilty for what happened with person B, and they recognize that what they did was wrong. They also have, I replay our conversations over and over. So person A definitely misses person B and having contact with person B. And they might be the one that, we'll get into person B actually. It's going to be easier to kind of explain where things are headed once we look more into them. Person B might get fed up with person A, if I'm being honest with you. They want to continue this connection in spite of all the pressure that they're facing, in spite of all the problems that the two of you have. They have a desire to prove themselves to person A, and they have a confidence that things are going to eventually work out, because they have this logic that if they are confident enough, if they continue to pursue this enough, that they can naturally bring things into action. It's just part of who they are. They are a bit more masculine as a person as well. Honestly, they feel balanced between the two, but this is more their masculine side speaking of, if I just work hard enough, this is going to happen for me, and they feel that way about their relationships as well. It's interesting though, because they're the opposite of person A. They think that this isn't going to work. They might hide behind a false face of, okay, we can still fix this, we can still make this work, we can still go at it again. But they have a false sense of confidence, and they're wearing a fake face almost of, this is fine, this is gonna be okay. Deep down, however, they think that the problems of your past are going to catch up to you again, even if you do move into better circumstances. And they think that the relief that you both are wanting, or have been wanting, is delayed or not coming at all. They think that person A is going to let go of this connection, or at the very least it's going to come to a crossroads where you either have to confront your difficulties or you have to go your separate ways. They expect this connection to face blockages and delays, and they believe that keeping this connection alive is going to require more energy than they expected, and person A is not going to hold their end of the bargain, which is going to leave them high and dry. They think it might be best to direct their attention elsewhere at this point. And what they're going to do is represented by the Six of Wands. They're going to lose. They're going to accept their fate almost. The reward that they thought they were going to receive is not going to appear, and they're going to feel like they lost something important to them, or that the relationship feels empty at best. And the reason they're going to allow themselves to lose is they've already built the foundation of what they need, or they're trying to build a foundation of what they need, and they want something sturdy moving forward with everything in their lives, including their relationships. And if I'm going to deliver a harsh truth, I don't think they believe that this is going to be with person A. This is how person A sees person B. Person A sees person B as a destructive ruler or principal, romantically delusional, taking advantage of those who need help, failing to care for oneself, which they do have tendencies to overexert themselves. They see person B as someone that has an intimate union with the divine. They see them as divinely feminine. They have this royal aspect about them where they sometimes use their authority to be benevolent and to protect other people. And they also see person B as the prostitute, which might have a negative connotation in today's society, but they see person B as someone that accepts the challenge and is able to survive without having to negotiate their power. And that might make person A feel small, to be honest. What person B wants to see to person A is, I can't reach out, so I don't think they're going to be reaching out, person A. And they also say, I see life differently now. So where is this connection headed is the overarching question here. It's pretty clear where things are going to go. The energy of the future is represented by the Emperor in reverse. Continuing this connection is going to feel forced. Someone, most likely person B, is going to try to make this work, and then the other, most likely person A, is not going to have enough confidence to assert their boundaries and assert their needs in this connection. Ultimately, this connection is going to lead to heartbreak and disappointment with the Three of Swords here. There's a potential for healing, but Spirit is essentially having this go in the direction that it is for right now because it's necessary for both of your guys' growth. Person A might end up collapsing under the expectations of person B, and they're going to feel alone or overworked, and I think that's going to contribute to them just stopping contributing in general. Whereas person B is going to take on that extra share of work and try to continue to, I'm hearing so long London, of carry both of you up the hill, and they're going to collapse under the weight of that responsibility and that burden. And eventually no movement is going to be happening here. You both are going to be put in a state where you have to consider whether or not this is going to be best for you. And you're going to have to reconnect to yourselves and step back from this connection to come to that decision. And why this is happening is rebirth. Either Spirit is setting this connection to fall apart because they need you to build on a better foundation or a different foundation, or Spirit is bringing other connections into your life that might be more fulfilling, is what I see here. But we are going to now look into some advice. I'll shuffle off camera. If you would like to continue with this connection, because you always have choice, I'm going to pull cards for both person A and person B for how to do that. But if you would like to let this connection go as well, I will pull those cards as well. So I shall see you there. All right, welcome back, pile 3. If you are person A and you would like for this to work, you have a lot of advice in terms of what to do, and then little advice in terms of what to surrender. So we'll just lay them out first of all. For you, with the Star in reverse, I feel like there's a need to remain hopeful regardless of how dark this connection goes, and believing that miracles are possible to happen. It's okay to ask person B for help, and focusing on healing and restoring yourself to feel better again is definitely important in this case. Seeing the potential of where this connection could go and allowing that to guide you is definitely going to be important during this time with the Two of Wands. And shaping the relationship into what you personally feel like you need it to be or want it to be is definitely the way to go from here. Taking that leap of faith, taking that risk instead of remaining stuck in your fear and regaining your confidence is going to be important here, and allowing things to fall away that no longer serve you with the Death card in reverse, not trying to stay stuck in this current cycle or in this current energy, and allowing yourself to stay there rather than letting things go. Your advice is to surrender to effortlessness. It says stop pushing so hard. The art of living means going with the flow instead of trying to force the river. So whatever you feel you're trying to force within this connection, whether that's being a different person or forcing yourself to behave a certain way with person B, is important, because you have been living within their demands or desires for so long that you might feel like you're not yourself, or you're playing a version of yourself that doesn't actually exist. And doing things that feel effortless to you instead of putting so much energy into what doesn't is significant in improving this relationship and helping things to work. Surrender to success is also important here. It says you are ready to experience abundance. Don't look back at previous roadblocks or difficulties, leading to an exciting new world of possibilities. So don't focus so much on what happened in the past. Don't linger too long on the previous mistakes that you or your other person made. Now is the time to jump into a new beginning and to feel confident that things are going to work out. If you are person B, your advice is very similar to person A, with the Five of Swords in reverse. Consider whether or not this battle is worth winning. Consider whether or not your actions are going to lead to a productive place. Dropping your ego, I think, is going to be important here, because person B, you are a very successful person. I can tell that you work really hard and that you care a lot, but sometimes you might start battles with person A that just aren't worth fighting and that tire you both out. And I think it's important to pause before you make a decision, or pause before you pick a fight with them and think, is this worth it? Am I fighting a battle together with this person, or am I fighting against them, is the advice that I'm receiving. The other advice cards you got are surrender stress, surrender to play, surrender to passion, and surrender fear. Focus on solutions and celebrate every baby step forward. You might have a vision of where you want things to go, and you might be trying to push that onto person A, and that is motivated by fear and stress rather than the emotions at play, or rather than what's actually happening. So focusing in the moment rather than trying to predict every future outcome is going to be important here, and maybe some physical activity definitely going to prevent you from overthinking. It says surrender to play and surrender to passion. So you've been in your masculine energy for quite some time and in go, go, go energy, and you might be pushing aside time for yourself or time to do things that aren't work related, not even in terms of career, but in terms of maybe you have a routine or a list of tasks that you need to get done, and you're constantly focused on that, and you don't make a lot of time for enjoying yourself. I'm trying to get around this, but I guess there's not really a good way to do that. I'm thinking of sexy time, to be honest with you. Maybe enjoy more sexual moments. Maybe that's going to be more helpful for you. Sometimes you might not be in the mood, but sometimes it might be good to play around with your partner and to allow that spark to ignite through more physical activity. I feel like you're just so wound up with things going on, and I don't blame you. I can already hear people being like, why this to do? Like, I get it, we're all adults here, we all have a lot of stuff to do, but sometimes, like, maybe taking time off randomly to spend more time with your partner, maybe having sex be a part of your routine too, or having play be a part of your routine is going to be helpful for you. But you seem to need some time to stop worrying about the future. And if person A is not helping you out, or if you feel like person A is adding more to your plate, then the advice of considering whether or not they are personally worth it is also coming through here. But trying this out first of surrendering to more playful aspects of life and not being so serious, I think is definitely gonna be important. Now we'll get into advice for letting this connection go. Person A, if you would like to let go of this connection, there's gonna be a lot that you have to do. I'm just gonna lay it all out. So you are going to have to do the unfair thing, is the advice that I noticed first. I know you might be worried about hurting person B's feelings, and you might feel like person B has done a lot for you, and letting them go might be a disservice to them and all they've done. But you also need to stop leading them on and making false promises to them, because that's going to prevent them from finding someone who is going to value them and who is going to be fair to them. It's unfair to stay in this situation for person B. And again, I know you don't want to hurt them. I know you care about them. But continuing to pursue this lie for you is not going to pan out. Your heart is telling you to stay with the Lover's card, and I feel like you don't want to make the choice, again, because you're afraid of hurting them, but you also need to choose what's best for you and what you know is right for you. And there's also a need to make the more logical choice. I feel like you know rationally this isn't going to work out, and speaking up about that is going to be important for letting this connection go. You have multiple Wands cards here, and then you also have the Sun in reverse. With the Four of Wands reversed, recognizing there's going to be a delay in what you want, like settling down with someone, because maybe that was a factor in why you decided to choose what you did, whether that's like settling in a home, settling in a specific state. You know, I talked about mother-daughter relationship. Maybe you had a timeline of I want a house at this point, but then you realized if I want a house at this age, I have to live with my mom, for instance. Recognizing that you don't have to have that timeline is important, and also realizing that there is joy to be had here in spite of pain and in spite of those delays. That's the advice that Spirit is giving you, to look at the bright side and to still enjoy yourself in spite of the decisions that you have to make here. Three of Wands and Five of Wands in reverse. What's coming to me is you're not a failure if this doesn't work. There might be a lost, what is it? The loss aversion fallacy of like, oh, I've dedicated so much time, I've put so much work into this, I don't want this to fail, might be motivating you to stay in this connection. And it's just not worth it if you're thinking about leaving, from what I see. The challenges are just going to get worse and worse and worse for you. It's just going to get harder for you to overcome them. And it seems like if you're ready to leave this connection, it's going to fail regardless. So it's better to leave now and save yourself and person B that pain than it is to dwell on what's going to happen if you continue, if that makes sense, against your own better judgment. Especially with the surrender your attachment to results. The Three of Wands can talk about results sometimes. The formula for success is to do all you can to make things happen, then let go of the results. Holding on too tightly to a desired outcome can sabotage it. So maybe taking some time away from this connection and not being so focused on what's going to happen if you decide to leave is going to be important here, because I feel like you might overthink it and decide not to leave because you just feel so guilty for making that quote-unquote unfair decision that you're hurting yourself and hurting your chances of succeeding with someone else that might be better suited for you. That's the advice that I'm getting for person A. And then for person B, for letting this connection go, you have the Six of Swords and then the surrender to rest and sleep and surrender your fear of intimacy. So regardless of whatever decision you make, you need some rest. Like, you've been working yourself to the bone lately and it's stressing you out, obviously, and I think you need some time away from work if you can take it. Whatever you've been working on, whatever you've been looking at can wait, to be honest, because it's not worth the amount of stress that you're currently under, and you're moving towards burnout, and that might be why you feel so jittery lately, or why you feel the need to kind of take command of things. Your advice is to consider why these problems keep catching up to you and why you might end up in relationships like this over and over and over again. If you have a specific type that you need to start to remove from your life, even if relief is temporary, or even if relief is delayed, like it seems like it's in your grasp, I think it's also important to acknowledge that sometimes giving up is the best choice. Sometimes moving on is the best choice. You don't have to stay in a situation just because there's potential to have it become something better or something good. It's okay to move on even if your heart is still stuck on someone else. You need to let go, is essentially what this is. You know what the logical choice is for you. I know you also are stuck in your heart of wanting this to happen, but either way, I think you just need to make the decision to let it go if it's what you actually want for yourself. There's also surrender your fear of intimacy. You are ready to let love in, compassionately identify and begin to release any patterns that stop you from opening your heart. That relates to what I was talking about with the Six of Swords, of analyzing your pattern and maybe talking to a therapist, for instance, about that pattern is going to be helpful for you to open up again and to let go of this connection. I am getting a download in my head of, I gave so much of myself to this person. I heard Cellophane when I was channeling by FKA Twigs, and Cellophane starts off with, didn't I do it for you? Why don't I do it for you when all I do is for you? And feeling frustrated with someone because you gave so much of yourself to them, but they didn't do what you needed them to do or wanted them to do. And there might be a feeling of resentment when you leave this person of, I gave so much to myself, now I don't feel like I can love again because of how much I gave to them. And that's understandable, like not feeling like you're capable of loving again. So take whatever time that you need to rest and to be at peace. Take the time to analyze your fear of intimacy and the connections that you've previously been in, and that'll be helpful in allowing the door to open up to new love and for you to finally have the peace and rest that you deserve in a relationship. So that is all that I have for you, pile 3. Thank you so much for listening to my reading. If you liked it, please share, comment, like, subscribe, and I hope to see you in another one. Bye!